Welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, I'm Tia, and in case you can't tell by all the posters surrounding me, I am a massive film nerd, and this is Movies with Tea. This is episode 2 of YAPS Film, which is basically a little series I want to do where I just talk at my camera and hope I get something that makes sense out of it. And today's video, actually, I recorded a couple days ago, but it was like an hour long and I did not want to edit that at all. So I've basically refilmed some stuff because it also really did not make sense. I was all over the place. So I've refilmed some bits, and instead I'm going to do multiple shorter videos instead. So this episode is just kind of my love for Marvel, kind of part 1 of my love for Marvel. And the main kind of focus for this episode is the Fox Fantastic Four films and the X-Men. I've actually been obsessed with Marvel for as long as I can remember. I just didn't know that it was Marvel because I've been obsessed with the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four films for quite literally my whole life. I cannot remember not being obsessed with this film. Didn't know it was Marvel at the time because I was just like 8 years old. I don't know. I was like young. I do not remember how old I was. Like, I genuinely have been obsessed with these films for as long as I can remember. But my love for Marvel just really did start with the 2005 Fantastic Four films. And when I later got into the MCU and knew about like Stan Lee cameos and like kind of knew what Marvel was at that point, I didn't even have to rewatch Fantastic Four to know exactly where the Stan Lee cameo was, which looking back is a bit sad that I'd seen the film that many times that I already recognised Stan Lee's face and was just like, he's the postman. And he was in fact the postman. But I've genuinely probably seen the film at least 40 times. Like, I would just watch it constantly. Whenever we'd go anywhere and we had the little DVD players on the back of the headrests, I would have Fantastic Four with me. I would always have it with me. I genuinely loved that film so much. So when kind of Multiverse of Madness came out and there was all the rumours going around of all the cameos, obviously the Illuminati were in it, and I was like, Reed Richards is on the Illuminati. Joan Grufford will be back. He wasn't, and I was disappointed, but we did get Black Bolt, which I think I was one of like the 5 fans that actually was happy to see Anson Mount as Black Bolt again. And then Deadpool and Wolverine happened, and I actually knew all the cameos beforehand. I did get a spoil on TikTok. The TikTok that spoiled it initially was like someone saying, imagine if Chris Evans shows up and instead of saying Avengers Assembly says Flame On, and one of the comments was like, well, watch the film. And I was like, you mean to tell me that literally like 2 hours before I'm going to see this film, I just had it spoiled that like the biggest cameo for me, it wasn't actually the biggest cameo for me in this film, but one of the biggest cameos in this film for me just got spoiled in a comment section of a TikTok. I've never been more upset, but seeing Chris Evans again as Johnny was amazing. He did not deserve that ending. He did not deserve the ending they gave him. But the biggest cameos for me in that film were the X-Men ones, but yeah. Yeah, I loved the Fantastic Four films. And then when COVID happened, I got bored at one point and watched the 2015 Fantastic Four film. I've only watched it once since, and that was just because I hate the film and I hadn't seen it recently enough to remember why I hated it so much. So I was like, I want to hate on this film accurately. So I rewatched it, and it was a little bit better than I remembered by about half a star. I think I gave it like 2.5. I was generous. Also, why does the Thing not wear trousers or shorts or anything? He's just like, it makes me uncomfortable. Like, it's not nice. Probably the biggest, most unexpected cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine for me was Pyro. he has been my favourite, like, X-Men character from the films for, like, as long as I can remember. Like, since I've watched the films, he has been one of my favourite X-Men characters. And I genuinely never, like, he was at the bottom of the list of my most likely to come back for Deadpool and Wolverine. Because, like, he's only in 2 films. He's severely underrated. I love you, Pyro. And just kind of, I'd never really seen anyone else being, like, a big fan of him. And when the trailer came out, it was like, I don't know if it was midnight, 1:30, I don't know. It was early in the morning here. Like, it was nighttime. I stayed up for the Super Bowl for this. I don't care about American football. I stayed up for that trailer. I was not missing it. I remember watching it. He shows up and I'm like, they focused on him for a little while. I'll Google and I'll see who he is. Because obviously it had been 18 years since his last appearance. I did not recognise him. And then watched the trailer again with subtitles on and it said Pyro. I cried for probably about 20 minutes. I was so happy that he came back. And I was like, if they've revealed him in the trailer, who else is in this film? And obviously there was a lot. But I also found like a diary entry or something that said, I hope that there's at least one of the Fantastic Four from the 2005 film in it. And I was like, well, that happened. And then it was like, and I hope Channing Tatum is in it as Gambit because he deserves a chance to play the character. And I was like, I like prophesized this film. It was like my dream kind of team up. I wish they had Ben Affleck's Daredevil in it or Ghost Rider, but it was kind of like my dream selection of characters. And seeing X-23 again, I love Laura, and it was just insane when the like final trailer came out and they revealed her, because there's obviously the scene, they had part of the scene where Wolverine talks to Laura in the first or second trailer, and I saw that and I was like, now why would he call Deadpool Kid? He's not talking to Wade. And then obviously there was the promo stuff that had Kid Paul on it, and we didn't know how much the other Deadpools were going to appear in the film, so I was like, maybe Kid Paul? But I doubt it. And then I was like, it could be Rogue or it would be X-23. So like from the first or second trailer, I was saying X-23 is in this film. She is back. Laura is back. And she was, and I was correct. So I guessed or like predicted 3 cameos in this film, and I've never felt like more of a genius in my life. So I think I also watched a lot of the X-Men films before I watched most of the MCU. It was a case of watching whatever was on streaming platform at the time, because obviously Disney Plus was not a thing. So it was just a case of watching whatever we could find or had access to at the time. And I think I did watch a lot of the X-Men films before most of the MCU. And the X-Men still hold like such a big place in my heart. They're still some of my favourite films to this day. X-Men 2 is my favourite X-Men film. I love the first one, but like X-Men 2 has Aaron Stanford as Pyro, and Pyro just is my guy. I love him. I really do love the X-Men films. They're still some of my favourite films to this day. And I remember rewatching them during COVID after WandaVision episode 5 came out, because I think there'd been leaks that week about episode 6, the Halloween episode, that he was going to be in it. And I was like, nah, there's no way. He was there. Yeah, I thought my mum was still out on a walk and she came back. Turns out she was not still on the walk, and she was in the house while I was screaming about Evan Peters. Because with knowing that Wanda was in Multiverse of Madness, I was like, maybe it's multiverse stuff, maybe it's actually Quicksilver, maybe it's Peter Maximoff. No, it was not, and I've never been more disappointed by anything in my life. It was not nice, Marvel, but also why would it have been Peter Maximoff? But a girl can dream. But I just never been more upset with Marvel. I have been, but that was like the biggest disappointment Marvel has ever done to me. And I just kind of rewatched all of the films, and it turns out I hadn't actually watched The Wolverine before. Watched that for the first time. That was crazy. Didn't really like it. It was a good film. I just didn't really like it. And then the post-credit scene was like crazy to me. Like, I'd seen all the films before apart from that one, and I just went like nuts. Like, what do you mean they teased Days of Future Past? And I could have had a little bit more input before watching Days of Future Past, but I just hadn't watched the Wolverine. Don't know why. I hadn't watched it before, so that happened. And I actually didn't know that X-Men Origins Wolverine had any post-credit scenes as well. I found that out after that point, because when I'd watched them with my dad, we never watched the post-credit scenes on those ones, so I just assumed there was no post-credit scenes. So watching the first one is just kind of like, it's just a little continuation of the film with Stryker still walking. The second one, however, made me lose my mind, because what did it mean? What was the plan? I really want to know. And controversial opinion, I like X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's a bad film. I can accept that it's a bad film, and it does. What they did to Deadpool, what they did to Wade was... It was bad. It was bad. I can accept that. I actually have a Funko Pop of Weapon 11. Is it Weapon 11? Yes, it is Weapon 11. Over on one of my shelves over here. But I do have a Funko Pop. I love him. I can accept that it's bad. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure film. I know it's bad, but I love it. I love watching it. And yeah, my kind of top 3 X-Men films. X-Men 2. Love X-Men 2 because of Pyro. Days of Future Past because it is just gorgeous. And like, I love it. Especially the road cut. I think the road cut is better personally. But regardless, I love both versions of the film. And Logan. I love Logan so much that watching that for the first time when I was like 12 or 13 was an experience, especially considering my 2 favourite X-Men at the time were Professor X and Wolverine, and we all know how that film ended. So yeah, I had great fun that night. Logan is one of my favourite films, and rewatching it a couple years later but not fully remembering what happened was not fun, because I thought that one thing happened a slightly different way, and it didn't, and it caught me off guard. And I cried a lot. It was, yeah. I actually hate rewatching X-Men because every time I hit Logan, I cry like a baby. And it's one of the films I wish I could have experienced in cinema, because I can just imagine how insane like the reaction to the end was, and I really wish I could have experienced that in cinema. And then in March, when the Doomsday Chair Live happened, I was literally about to go to the library and like do some work because exams, important, I needed to revise. And I got the YouTube notification and I was like, perfect timing, I'm not going anywhere. And I sat there for 5.5 hours watching Chairs. But it was worth it. It was worth it. Because like every chair had me like going insane. But then there was obviously the kind of Thunderbolt spoilers that all of them bar Taskmaster survive, even though we all knew Taskmaster was not surviving because she was in like 2 scenes in the trailer, and then they cut her out of one of them in a future trailer, so we all knew she was not making out the film. She was not going to be in the film that much. And when it kind of got to Tom Hiddleston, like I cried because Loki's my favourite character, and the way Tom Hiddleston had kind of spoke after Loki season 2 made it sound like that was it for him, and I'd accepted that. Surprisingly, to everyone's surprise, I accepted that like Loki probably isn't coming back. Surprise, surprise, he's back. And I'm so excited, like I love him so much. And then it got to, I think Patrick Stewart was the next chair, and I cried. I was like, hearing the X-Men 97 theme, I was like, what's going on here? And then Patrick Stewart, and I was like, okay, things are getting weird. And then it played a different theme. I'm not 100% sure whether it was Magneto's theme from the old X-Men films or what it was, but then it's Eddie McKellen, and I was like, oh okay, there's a pattern now. There's a pattern to the chairs. And they started announcing X-Men characters, and I've never been happier. And then hearing the Deadpool Wolverine like theme, I don't know if it's not really the Deadpool and Wolverine theme, but like what they used during the like cameo reveals in Deadpool and Wolverine, and then seeing Channing Tatum, I was so happy because yes. So I did kind of go nuts. And then obviously the last chair was Pedro, the second to last one was Pedro Pascal, and I thought maybe they're focusing on Fantastic Four characters now. And then Robert Downey Jr. walked in and it was just Doctor Doom. I got my hopes up. I know there is rumours currently that August 27th is going to be the second half of the cast announcement. I definitely think there's more cast to come because they're missing so many key characters. Like, you've included Beast, which is presumably from the Marvel's post-credit scene. It's that version. But you've not included Maria and Monica, which they're literally there with him. Like, if you were going to announce two characters, it should have been them. So I don't know why they didn't announce them then. But regardless, I hope they're in the second live because I love Maria and I love Monica. I love Captain Marvel in general, like any Captain Marvel related characters. But I did sit there for the whole 5.5 hours. And I know there'd been rumours that there was like 50 main cast members. So when we got to like 25, I checked how long it had been and was like, right, roughly I'll be here till 1 o'clock in the morning. I have lectures tomorrow or an exam, I don't remember. And I was like, well, I'm not going anywhere. I will stay up because I am not missing Marvel news. I'm not doing it. But yeah, seeing all the X-Men get announced, not all of them, but a good chunk of the X-Men get announced was insane. And I'm so excited for Doomsday. I know things aren't probably going to end well for the X-Men, but I'm just happy that they've brought some of them back again. Because again, but kind of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four were just like such... Fantastic Four was like my whole childhood. And then kind of X-Men was like end of primary school, start of high school, like that kind of part of my life. And they've just been such huge parts of my life that seeing the X-Men get announced again was crazy to me. Like, I never in my wildest dreams did I imagine they were going to be in Doomsday. Maybe Secret Wars. I was expecting there to be like a ton of cameos in Secret Wars. That was where I was expecting kind of the bulk of cameos and like characters from other Marvel things that aren't MCU. But then they're doing it in Doomsday as well, so who knows what else is going to happen? What else are they keeping secret? What else are they keeping secret? Thank you for watching today's episode, and if you've enjoyed it, please feel free to like and subscribe. Any and all support for this channel is greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.